Hello and welcome to the quote-unquote weekly Stuff Podcast.
Yes.
With Jonathan Lack.
And Sean Chapman.
I'm
quote-unquote weekly Sean Chapman.
I'm pretty sure we are still Jonathan and Sean.
Maybe.
This is not weekly.
No, God, no. It's like almost really never been.
I feel like we owe a little bit of an explanation, though, for why this summer, because we've hinted around it.
Oh, yeah.
I want to just explain it really quickly. So, Sean and I are trying to learn Japanese.
Yes.
Because it's cool language.
Yeah.
Because you can watch anime and understand when people are calling each other idiots and stuff.
Yeah. And it's also, I think it's just like a good thing to learn another language
Yeah.
in general for your mental health.
I would hate to die before, there's so many languages, it feels like it's an experience you should have.
Yeah.
So anyway, but a good way, quote-unquote, good way to do that at our university, Colorado Daigaku, is they have the entire second year of Japanese over the summer. Mm-hmm. So we decided, second year of Japanese over the summer. That sounds like a great idea. It's a good idea for, educational, what should I say? Fulfillment.
Yeah.
It makes it convenient in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But the problem is, 2.5 hours of Japanese class every day, coupled with a lot of homework and stuff, fries your fucking brain.
Yeah, it makes you not want to do anything.
Yeah.
And it also makes it hard to do anything because it's a legitimately very significant time commitment, so.
Yes. So, and obviously, school is always a big time commitment, but at least during this semester, I feel like our schedules are more normalized. We've always had more of a shot of being weekly.
Yeah.
We've done a much better job of that. It's just the summer's been crazy. On top of that, then I have to drive up here to Boulder, because I go to see Boulder. I don't live here, though. So that's like a lot of time in the car every day, and then it just makes the podcast kind of hard to get to. And this has been a really quiet summer in a lot of ways. So,
yeah, there has been a lot to talk about anyways.
Yeah. So it's just all of that has coupled together to make this podcast a little more...
The bi-weekly, hopefully, at most... Stuff podcast, yeah.
I'm not going to rename it to that, though.
Yeah.
Because I do we can make it more consistent than it has been, just not right now.
Yeah.
But in the future, we shall see. So anyway, that's what's been going on.
Yep.
But anyway,
so podcast done. There we go.
Podcast done. No,
so
we have
for the week.
We have things to talk about this week. I feel like when we get into August, we're going to have a lot of things to talk about. Doctor Who's returning.
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out.
That is also true.
There's plenty of stuff going on, and we got some plans for that, and we'll fill you in on that in a minute. On docket today, though, we're going to talk some movie stuff. We're going to talk a little bit of video game stuff. We're going to talk a little bit of internet stuff. Mainly,
not all the stuff.
Yeah. Mainly, we're going to talk about the Destiny beta. That'll be like our little topic today. I don't think we will have, hours to say on it or anything.
Yeah, because it's very similar to the content that was in the alpha.
Yeah, but I want to talk about it a little bit because Destiny is really cool. We've got plenty of things to say on it, and I'm sure lots of you are playing it too. I mean, right now, as we're recording this, it's in its last couple days, but it's open to absolutely everyone. So
they really want to stress their servers. So.
Yeah, if you own a home console that's not made by Nintendo, you can play the friggin' Destiny alpha.
Yeah, it's PS3, 360, PS4, and Xbox One.
Yes.
All.
And I'm thinking
you need the appropriate subscriptions to play the content, but.
Yeah, PS Plus or Xbox Live Gold, but you should definitely try it out. And, if you can get a Gold or PSN trial or something. Yeah. PSN doesn't do trials, but Gold does. So anyway, it's totally worth it. I might go home tonight and put it on my PS3 and see what it looks like on last-gen stuff.
Yeah, I've seen from some of the, Digital Foundry from Eurogamer has said that it's, it's obviously, it does not look as good, but it runs well and stuff, so that seems like, it sounds like they were successful in making the previous gen versions as well.
Yeah, that's good. So... let's see. What should we talk about first? I want to start with... normally we do our previews of upcoming episodes at the end, but I want to throw this at the beginning just so everyone knows everyone's on the same page.
All right.
August is Doctor Who month. All right?
Jonathan, every month is Doctor Who month on this fucking podcast.
Okay. August, we're going to be going in heavy on Doctor Who because on August 23rd, we will be meeting the 12th Doctor himself.
Yes.
Mr. Peter Capaldi.
Yes.
It's going to be cool.
So, hopefully, yes.
We were kind of we brainstormed this on a previous podcast actually.
Yeah.
But we were kind of trying to think. We've done a ton of Doctor Who topics over the years.
Yes, we have.
We've talked about Doctor Who exit episodes. We've talked about Doctor Who best seasons. We talked about best Doctor Who serials. All of that kind of stuff.
Best Doctors, just like everything.
Yeah. But one thing we haven't done, and it's kind of I'm a little surprised we haven't done this yet, but this is the perfect opportunity. Is what does a Doctor regeneration story look like on the other side when it's the new Doctor coming in? And we've just lost the old Doctor, and they've regenerated. Obviously, there's a lot of those stories in Doctor Who, one for every Doctor. Yes. And we want to do a kind of, not exactly. But
the Eighth Doctor. I mean, the Eighth Doctor got his now with Night of the Doctor. So
right.
Kind of, all of them.
Yeah. So that's what we want to talk about. And so we are going to do 2 episodes worth of this. They will be, I'm sure we'll talk about other stuff in those episodes, so if for some crazy reason you have no heart and don't watch Doctor Who, there'll be other stuff in these episodes. But before August 23rd, probably the 2 podcasts leading up to that, we're going to do an old Doctor podcast and a new Doctor podcast in terms of classic and new series.
Yeah.
For the classic series, we're going to be talking about 3 specific serials.
Yes.
It is the first Third Doctor serial, Spearhead from Space.
Which is one of the best.
Absolute
masterpiece.
And very easy to find. It's on every download
Netflix
service.
And everything.
It's the only old Doctor Who story on Blu-ray even. It's on Blu-ray, which is interesting, because it's the only one they shot on 35mm.
Yeah, because it takes a place all outside.
Yeah.
So that's how they did that.
Yep. So we're going to talk about that one. We're going to talk about the 5th Doctor's first story, Castrovalva.
Yeah, Castrovalva was really cool.
Yep.
It's a weird one.
And we haven't gotten to talk about the 5th Doctor too much on this show, so that might be fun.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about what, Sean, you consider to be the worst Doctor Who episode ever made.
Among the worst. I'm hesitant to ever really specify one, because there's a lot of really bad Doctor Who episodes. But Twin Dilemma is definitely it's in that fight. It's in that fight, and it's swinging hard.
It's the 6th Doctor story, Twin Dilemma. Extra interesting because it comes on the heels of what many would call the best Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, Case of Androzani.
Yeah. So, interesting. That's the 6th Doctor's first story. Go out into the world, find these. They should be pretty easy to find.
And if you watch Twin Dilemma, I'm just, in advance, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You're going to get a fun discussion out of it, hopefully. Yeah.
I'm so fucking sorry, man.
Those are the 3.
I'm sorry, Jonathan. I'm sorry I'm making you do this.
It's okay. We're going to talk about these 3. Then the next week, these are super easy to find because these are definitely on Netflix and Amazon Prime and everywhere else. We're going to do the 10th Doctor's first story, Christmas Invasion, and the 11th Doctor's first story, The 11th Hour.
I'm excited because it's been a pretty long time since I saw Christmas Invasion.
It's a really good one. It's a really different one than some of these, I feel like.
Doctor has a sword in that. Doctor doesn't wield a sword often enough in Doctor Who.
That scene is great.
Yeah.
David Tennant walked on and he just kind of owned it. It's pretty good. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So Doctor Who Regeneration stories.
Yes.
And we will see if the 12th Doctor's first story, which is sadly not called 12th Night. Although, are they saving that for his last episode?
Maybe.
I hope that's his last episode, 12th Night. That'd be good. Yeah. Although at this point it's really 15th or 16th Night. But we're not going to talk about that.
Fuck that. Just fuck that.
Okay. Because there's 6 secret doctors or something now? What? Okay. In any case, Doctor Who we gotta build to the Doctor Who craziness, right?
Exactly, yeah.
We talk about it a little bit for a couple podcasts, then it's just going to explode, and that's going to be every episode till the end of the year, because we're getting a full run-through season, not 5 episodes here, 1 there.
Yeah, it's going to be a fucking sprint.
Yeah, it's going to be good. All right, so, Sean, what have you been up to? Stuff time.
Well, because I've mentioned it a couple of times as I've been playing through it, so I finished Wolfenstein: The New Order a few days ago, and basically everything I said about the game before on the mid-year show still holds true. The game finishes strong. It doesn't have an incredible ending, and so I'm almost a little bit disappointed that the ending wasn't amazing as the rest of the game was. But it's not a really bad ending. It's just a strong, solid finish, and it's a really, really fucking good, really inventive first-person shooter campaign, and you don't get a lot of those these days. So it's totally kind of does its own thing, and I'm probably going to replay it because they sort of do an interesting thing where, the game takes place in an alternate history, 1960s, but the game actually begins in World War II in 1945, so it's like you fighting the Nazis actually extends past the actual war, and there's a point where you make a decision that branches off 2 different timelines that basically decide which of 2 characters live, and that sort of, I guess, changes certain different things in the eventual step into the 1960s, and so I'm probably going to end up playing through that game again to see what that alternate timeline is and what stuff changes if you do that. So
nice.
Sounds cool.
Good replay value.
Yeah, definitely.
And I am seeing this game on sale pretty consistently in a lot of places.
Yeah, it's definitely been on sale a lot in the past week or so.
So buy it.
Yeah, definitely. It's fucking awesome.
All right. Let's see. So and my number 1 game of the year so far, I finished also in the break.
Yeah.
Which was Bravely Default for the 3DS. And I'm not going to say much about it here because the thing is, you either tolerate the last half of Bravely Default or you don't.
That tends to be true of most JRPGs, I find.
Yes. Bravely Default is a pretty fucking extreme case of a last half of a JRPG going out the window. But again, you either tolerate it or you don't. I tolerated it. I had fun with it. I finished the game. I'm glad I finished it. But if I were to go any deeper into the issues and the strengths of the last half of Bravely Default, that'd be its own episode. Yeah. So I'm not going to do that. And I don't even give a fuck about Bravely Default anymore, because when I finished Bravely Default, I went to the next game on my 3DS checklist, and I started playing Fire Emblem Awakening, and my life has been changed. I feel like, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, but I know what it's like to have a religious conversion now. I know what born-again Christians feel like. I know this feeling because I started playing Fire Emblem Awakening and I found God. And yes,
Jonathan, I think that might be a bit of an exaggeration. I mean, I understand what you mean because the first tactical RPG game I played was also Fire Emblem, but it was Fire Emblem, the first one that came over here on the Game Boy Advance.
Right.
And I found that experience absolutely amazing because there are no games like tactical RPGs. They are a really unique, really intense, really involving genre, and so when the first time you play one, you absolutely fall in love with it. But I think saying you found God is maybe pushing it a little far. Just a little.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I will,
But would you say, Jonathan, that when you played Fire Emblem that you had a sort of awakening?
A big awakening, definitely. Yeah. Thank you for the pun, I guess. Anyway, yes, here's the thing. Fire Emblem Awakening, and I am so close to the end that I feel like I can, unless it really goes out the window in the last chapter, which I can't imagine it will, this is one of the 10 best games I've ever played. I was thinking about our episode last year where we did our top 10 favorite video games.
Yeah.
This would find a spot on there. It is such an amazing game. It's not just the tactical RPG-ness of it, which I immediately understand why the genre is, both beloved and kind of intoxicating to people.
Yeah.
And it's a great version of that and of the Fire Emblem formula and everything. But the storytelling is so good. It's not like a revelatory RPG story or anything, but it's this really well told, really kind of colorful story about, sort of these nations and political intrigue. And
Fire Emblem games have a lot of really interesting sort of high fantasy political intrigue stories.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would describe it, and it's done really well. And I think it seeds a lot of stuff in the early chapters that pay off later on in terms of narrative. And I feel like when it does a twist, it's never punching you in the gut or something. It's just. Or sucker punching you, I should say. It's always organically coming from the story. The characters are all so vivid, and it really is a game about the characters. I think the most interesting thing about the Fire Emblem Awakening game is that it has this. It honestly reminds me of the Persona social link system, where they took sort of this social sim aspect and kind of grafted it onto a traditional RPG dungeon crawling kind of thing, and it made each sides of the game more interesting, and each side influenced the other. So in Fire Emblem Awakening, what you have is, you have your units who are all, and obviously that's the classic thing in Fire Emblem, is that your units are characters, so if they die and it's permadeath, you're really sad.
Yeah.
And you restart many times, or you've played that fight for 90 minutes already, and it's I just have to let this character go.
Yeah.
So it can happen, but...
Yeah, that's there's probably some of the most heartbreaking moments in video games is I remember playing those old Fire Emblem games, and when you get to some of those last fights, it's just I'm sorry, Will, super badass archer dude who's one of my favorite characters, I can't get you to live. There's nothing I can do in this fight. You have to die. There's just nothing I can do. It's really fucking heartbreaking.
It is really heartbreaking. And so what they've added on top of that, though, now is that there's always been a system in Fire Emblem games, as I understand it, where if you have your units fight too close to each other, they get certain stat boosts.
Yeah.
But that's really, rebuilt in Fire Emblem Awakening, where you really have to have your units fighting together, and they create partnerships. So any two units you have together, there are basically levels of, closeness they can attain. There's C, B, A, and then if they are male and female, there's S, and they can marry and have kids.
In that case, the S stands for sex.
Yes.
Usually, I don't know what the S usually stands for in rankings in Japanese games, but in that case, it clearly just stands for sex.
Exactly. Yes. So, sadly, no gay marriage in Fire Emblem Awakening, but it is a Japanese game that was never going to happen.
Yeah, and then also, isn't the kind of the point of that mechanic is in because you have children of those characters?
Yes, you do, and
so that would not.
Yeah,
that just wouldn't be possible with a gay marriage. So
yeah, well, and it's just they don't have.
That would be really interesting if they did it anyways.
They'd have to introduce how in an old time system they would have high adoption systems.
Yeah,
because that would be possible today. But Fire Emblem doesn't take place in 2014 America.
But no, I mean the point of the mechanic is that they're genetically
yes, they are
right because it's like stats and shit.
Right, exactly. So and you unlock, and then there's a whole time travel thing with the kids. So whatever. But
if there's just time travel shit, they could figure out a way to do that.
Yeah. It's too bad. But anyway, so you can make your characters get married and everything and all that. But what's really cool is that not only do your characters fighting together get you all these crazy stat boosts, and eventually, you really learn that you have to be making sure your characters are paired up in good ways, or else a character on their own is almost never going to stand a chance. But also, the more you have them together, then back in the main menu on the overworld, you can have these support cutscenes where you watch and they're
conversations.
Conversations. And it's again, it reminds me of the social link thing. Like it's the other way around, where it's like the combat aspect creates these things, not kind of. This is not a one-to-one comparison, but it's a similar kind of thing where you get to have these characters kind of interacting in an interesting way outside of fighting, and you get to see these scenes with the characters, and the characters are developed, and it's really, really cool and satisfying and fun on that level. They're such fun character interactions, and then it feeds back into the fighting, and it makes the whole thing so dynamic and interesting. The writing in the game is fantastic. There is so much more writing in this game than you could ever see.
And that's that kind of game.
Yeah,
it's that kind of game where it's like you have to kind of give up on being able to see everything because it's just you can't. It's just not possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to play it again sometime and do it in a different way and get some different things going on. I mean, my biggest problem is that I let several men die early in the story, and I have way too many women, and a lot of them are never going to have mates because.
Did you choose your player character to be male?
Yes.
Well, then I don't see what the problem is.
I don't think you can marry multiple times.
Like,
I should try it.
You get like the harem ending with your main
That'd be
character.
great. Yeah. And it was kind of hard because there's a lot of women I wanted my character to marry, but ultimately it's Anna because she's the awesome merchant chick. She's cool. I like Anna.
You married a merchant?
You have to see the merchant in Fire Emblem Awakening. She is a really cool, hot, awesome character design.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's the way to just objectify Anna the merchant.
No,
lady.
I think she's a strong woman too.
It's like she's fucking back in my day. We had Lindis, the main character for Fire Emblem. She was fucking badass.
See, I like Anna. I think it's a good character design. I think she's cool.
Yeah, it's
I like Anna.
It's a good character design.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's see. So, Fire Emblem Awakening, like I said, phenomenal game. If you don't own a 3DS, buy a 3DS and play Fire Emblem, and then play all the other phenomenal games on 3DS. I've been pretty much playing my 3DS and nothing else except the Destiny beta on PS4 for a month now, and I could happily keep doing that for a couple of years because the 3DS has a lot of good stuff on it, and it's got some games that I still have a backlog I'm working through. The other thing is Best Buy this week. Hopefully this podcast comes out in time for people to take advantage of this. Best Buy has a buy one, get one free on certain 3DS games. One of those is Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, which a lot of people were, really...
huge Game of the Year contender for last year.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a really good game. And I've never finished a Zelda game, but...
That's okay. I've only finished 2. I've only ever finished Link to the Past in Ocarina of Time because every other Zelda game is way too long and gets really boring.
But the two Zelda games that have held my attention the longest, and I would honestly have finished if I played them at more optimal times, are Link to the Past and Link's Awakening. And this is the next game in that line. It's the top-down kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I've really wanted to play it. I got on that sale. Haven't started it yet. I'm going to wait until I'm done with Fire Emblem, and that's my next game on the docket. But I got with it Mario Golf World Tour, because every couple of years you need a Mario sports game.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never actually bought a Mario sports game, so I don't know why I said
So
that.
what the fuck are you even talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah, every couple of years you really need a game in this franchise. That this is the first time I've bought a game in this franchise.
Exactly. I wanted to see if you agreed, and then I decided to back out.
It's just every couple of years you need an XCOM game, even though XCOM Enemy Unknown is the only XCOM game I've ever played. But every couple of years you really need one, Jonathan.
Okay. He's saying that because he's playing XCOM
it was just the game that came to my head because I've been playing a lot of XCOM, which is still fucking awesome game. It came out 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to make it my game of the year this year.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. No, I'm liking Mario Golf. It's a fun little game. There's some annoying things in it, but I also am going to get to unlock Birdo, and I'm going to get to golf with Birdo, and that's going to get it a place on my top 10 list for this year, I'm pretty sure, because Birdo is...
you have a really uncomfortable fascination, almost I would call it fetishization of Birdo.
I don't have a fetishization of Birdo. I just think Birdo's kind of a cool character, and I'm just sad because he/she/it is never...
Just refer to Birdo as Birdo at all times. Do not use pronouns. Birdo.
Because Birdo is never in Mario games. Birdo is never in Smash Bros. Birdo is never in Mario Kart. Birdo is hardly in Mario Party. I don't think it's ever in Mario Party. Yeah. So it's sad.
I think the only time I've seen Birdo, now that I think about it, in playable roles, has been in Mario sports games.
Yeah.
I want to say you could play as Birdo in Mario Tennis, and that's maybe where I played as Birdo before.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you want to play if you like Mario and you want to play just kind of a fun golf game, Mario Golf World Tour for $30, it's only $30. totally worth the money and totally worth it in this buy one get one free sale they're having right now, because it's a amazingly feature-rich game. I mean, the basic gameplay obviously is always the same. It's golf. Yeah. But there's so many modes, and there's so many things to unlock, and there's so many paths you could take. I mean, you could just focus on, like, the challenges, which let you unlock characters and stuff. And that could probably be your entire experience with that game. Or you could just focus on the match aspect, which is where you play other Mario characters, and you unlock alternate versions of them. And you could do that the whole time.
Can you unlock an evil Mario that doesn't have the mustache?
That would be fascinating.
Yeah. Right? Because he already has facial hair, so if you have the evil version of him, you can't just put more facial hair on. Right. It doesn't really, like, read that well, so you'd have to take it off.
Be creepy. I want fan art, people. Make that for us.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't tell people to do that. That's just creepy.
Okay, that's creepy. All right. But yeah, it's a good...
I don't want to see Mario without a mustache.
It's a good Mario sports game.
I don't want to live in that world.
And now I'm curious about the Mario Tennis game they put out for 3DS, because I'm wondering if that's good, too.
Mario Tennis on GameCube was good.
Okay.
As far as I really vaguely remember that experience that might have had Birdo in it.
Good. Birdo should be more Mario games.
I have a memory of enjoying a game that I believe was called Mario Tennis, or had Mario Tennis in the title at some point in my life. That's all I can assert with this incredibly vague memory I have.
All right. Sounds good. But no, the 3DS, I like playing that console. And it's got a feature I discovered last night that every console should have.
Yeah, you can, there's a switch that turns 3D on and off. It's really cool.
That's not the feature I'm talking about.
Okay.
Why are you saying that?
I just thought it would be really funny if you said that was the
feature. Oh, right.
Because I feel like there are a lot of people who probably only are vaguely aware that the 3DS does that, based on how much I hear people never fucking mention 3D with 3DS.
And it's interesting. I still like the 3D on the 3DS just fine. I use it maybe probably less than half the time. But there's Fire Emblem makes fantastic use of it. The animated cutscenes have to be watched in 3D. They're made for that. They're amazing. But it's a game that looks just as good in 2D. It's just sometimes I feel like some of the battle, there are effects and particle effects and things like that aren't in the 2D version if you turn that off, and they're kind of cool to see. But yeah, I mean, I like having it there. I don't use it all the time. Certainly, it's fine. It doesn't take anything. It never takes anything away. So whatever. But the feature I was going to talk about, because I was trying to figure out. Fire Emblem is a game where you kind of have to restart over and over and over again on the matches, because if you lose someone you like, and you get to like most everyone, and they die, you're just like, oh fuck, restart.
Yeah, I can't let that person die.
Right. So I would say most of the matches are probably only 12 to 15 minutes. So far, at least. There are some that are half hour to an hour, but the average one is that length. So that's what my play clock will record when I'm done with it. But I may have spent 2 hours on that thing.
Yeah,
it could take a long time to kind of put your plan in place and everything and execute it. So I was like, well, what's my actual playtime on this fucking game? Because the play clock does not represent it at all.
Yeah,
the 3DS has an activity log thing. It's been there from the beginning. I've never used it. And you can go in, and it's just kind of funny because I had literally never used it across the 2 3DSs I've owned. It went through and it started opening. When I opened the activity log, it says, here's what you've played since you last opened activity log. And it was every application I've ever used on my 3DS started showing up, which was hilarious. I was able to skip the animation, thankfully. Yeah. That could have taken hours. But yeah, anyway, and you can rank it by what's my most played, what's my least played, that sort of thing, or by date, what was I playing on this date. But yeah, so my number one is still Bravely Default, which I was interested to learn. That was 60 hours total. I think my play clock on that is 55. But then Fire Emblem, I think my play clock in the game is 20 hours right now, and in truth it's 35. So it's interesting. 15 hours worth of failed attempts.
Yeah, although for me, I always feel like Steam has that similar thing that tells you your time played, but that's never reliable for me because I have a really bad habit of tabbing out of games and browsing on the internet for a second or stuff like that, and so I just will leave a game running in the background, and so I accrue huge hours. So it's I played this one game for actually only 2 hours, but I accidentally left it on my computer while I was out for almost the entire day. So it says I spent 15 hours playing this stupid little tiny game.
Luckily, that is not an option on the 3DS, so it obviously doesn't count your time in sleep mode or anything.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but anyway, that's a cool feature. 3DS is a good system. Nintendo, the Wii U is a massive embarrassment, and I don't really enjoy using it, even though it's got a couple of good games. 3DS is one of my favorite consoles I own, and if I had a friend recently ask me, what console on the market right now should they buy, irrespective of generation, just what's the best value right now, and I think I would have recommended for home consoles PS3 because of you get almost every great game from the last generation in terms of the there's a lot of cross-platform stuff is all on there. But then I think in terms of exclusives, it's got the best stuff, and it's going to still be supported for a while. So that's one I would recommend. But 3DS would be a contender for that right now, because it's hard to know what to say about the PS4 and Xbox One so far. If you're not a hardcore gamer, if you're more casual, you're still waiting for things.
If you're someone who is really invested in getting new games, then obviously you kind of are forced to buy the PS4 and the Xbox One because that's where new games are coming out,
right?
Regardless of handheld titles.
Yeah. But no, 3DS, I mean, they just kind of have had for a couple of years now, steady stream of hits, and they keep coming, and I'm excited to see what's more in the future. I mean, this fall, I'm going to be having a Persona Q on there.
Sure.
And that looks really good. So,
although I still would say, I mean, I don't own a 3DS, but if you are someone who, does not own any video game consoles, I would probably still say the PS3 and 360, because they kind of have a much bigger library.
They have a bigger library, it just depends on where you're at. It's just, I mean... I didn't explain it fully. I'm just thinking the 3DS is still something that's clearly supported and will be for a while to come and stuff. But yeah, you have to separate home console from portable, because a lot of people don't want portable or maybe don't want home, so you have to decide. Yeah, for home console, I would say PS3, just because I feel like it would be between that and 360, but I would pick PS3 for that. But sure. I guess you wouldn't because you hate the controller.
Oh god, that fucking controller's so bad.
Buy a DualShock 4 with it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
There.
And then just melt the DualShock 3 that came with the console.
Now I'm imagining the beginning of Lord of the Rings where they have the ring and they put it into the molten lava and then they pull it.
Yeah, no, it's you throw the DualShock 3 into the fire and it's not melting. You're like, what? And then you grab tongs and pull it out. There's elven script around it. You start trying to read it and the room darkens. Oshnashki Batul. It's what the fuck?
Elijah Wood, if you would like to make that skit for us, that'd be great.
Fuck, that controller's so fucking bad. Good God.
Anyway, that's what I've been playing. In terms of movies, I haven't had time to see a lot of stuff, but I did get out to see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. My review on that is up on the website. It's a good movie. You should see it. Read my review. Won't say much more about that. I'm looking forward to seeing Richard Linklater's Boyhood this weekend. That came out in limited release a couple weeks ago, and I've been excited for it to come here. That sounds like a pretty amazing movie. So, yes. Still more excited for Guardians of the Galaxy because, Richard Linklater's Boyhood may be kind of a revolutionary way of making a movie and all of that, and a real emotional powerhouse, but it doesn't have a raccoon using a rocket launcher.
Yeah, or Vin Diesel voicing a tree person.
Yeah. So, all right. Get on that, Richard Linklater. Boyhood 2, Vin Diesel in mocap over 12 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Saying, I am Groot as he gets old.
I am Groot.
If Marvel wants to get really experimental.
Yeah.
All right. In any case, let's talk about some other stuff, Sean.
Okay.
All right. Transition music.
Ba 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 ba.
Okay.
Transition.
If we ever get a budget, we'll get an in-house musician, on a late-night show.
Yeah, I have to say, halfway through doing that transition music, I realized that I was about to start singing the Super Mario Brothers theme. I was like, I can't just do that.
That's great. All right. So, Sean, one of our most hated movies, really most hated things in life on this podcast, is the amazing, or you might want to call it shit-tacular, Spider-Man 2.
No, I will give them this. That movie is fucking amazing. It is definitely deserving of that adjective. Okay. It is amazing.
Right, amazing.
How bad it is.
Amazing does not necessarily connote quality.
Yeah. It just means it's sort of it's something that defies your belief in incredible ways.
And it definitely did that. Yeah. So yes, Amazing Spider-Man 2, amazingly awful, and it feels like Sony got the memo on that.
Yeah.
Because their plan was to have a whole quadrilogy of, is that right for 4? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Okay. Tetralogy, I think.
Okay, whatever it is.
Tetris.
Yeah.
Tetralogy.
Okay. In any case, they were going to have 4 Spider-Man movies out by 2018. They were going to have Spider-Man 3 in 2016, then Spider-Man 4 in 2018, and somewhere they were going to do a
Venom movie.
Yeah, and a Sinister Six movie.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Venom movie is still not officially announced.
Oh,
but
okay.
Sinister Six has a director and everything. So, yeah. And now it's got a release date, but we'll talk about that in a second. So, they've abandoned all those plans. Spider-Man 3, if it ever actually comes out, because it does not have a date, they have pulled it from 2016. They've said if it comes out, it'll be in 2018, but it has no date. And in fact, when they vacated the date Amazing Spider-Man 4 was going to have in 2018, Marvel snatched that up, probably for Avengers 3. That's what would make sense there. But, they have canceled basically the next 2 Spider-Man movies in terms of dates and everything. if they're not going to have it out for 4 years now, that means I would be a little surprised if Mark Webb returned for it, because it's a long investment for a director. I think it would be entirely possible. If they're not planning on having Andrew Garfield in Sinister Six, I wonder if he'll be back. That's a long time.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
This is interesting. You don't usually plan to have a sequel come out 4 years later. It happens. Star Trek Into Darkness came out 4 years after Star Trek, but it wasn't like they made Star Trek and said, in 4 years we're going to do this. They kept trying to make it earlier. It's just everyone on that movie is obviously very busy people. It didn't come together. So this is interesting. There's a couple of things going on here. I mean, for one, the reaction to Amazing Spider-Man 2 was largely toxic.
Yes.
But also...
deservingly so.
Yeah. And as a box office, in terms of finances, it did well, but for a Spider-Man movie, it could have done so much more.
It's the worst selling Spider-Man movie. So
yes, at home, overseas, total, everything. It is the lowest. Even Amazing Spider-Man, which was considered a financial disappointment at like $800 million, which is crazy. But
it's a financial disappointment the same way that Tomb Raider game was.
Right. Yes, Tomb Raider at least eventually passed in profitability. But yes, I'm really curious what this indicates, if anything. They have put Sinister Six, they've set a date for it in November of 2015. No, 2016.
2016,
2016. That's the movie that's going to be directed by Drew Goddard. But I'm really curious what their plans are.
Yeah, I feel like I've said this 1,000 times on this podcast, but what the fuck is a Sinister Six movie? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, are they just planning...
what is the distinction between a Sinister Six movie called, the Sinister Six movie and a Spider-Man movie? I don't know.
I think probably the thing I would bet is most likely for all of this is that they are planning Sinister Six will be what Amazing Spider-Man 3 was going to be. I'm betting it'll have Andrew Garfield as a central character, or whoever they still have playing Peter Parker. For all I know, Andrew Garfield is on the phone with his agent every day saying, for the love of God, get me out of this series. I love Spider-Man. It is terrible.
Yeah.
That could totally be happening. I don't know. In any case, but let's just assume Peter Parker Spider-Man's going to be in it, and I assume it'll really just be a Spider-Man movie, but they're going to call it Sinister Six, and I think they are trying to probably drum up excitement for it by giving it that kind of team-up aspect.
Sure.
It's still weird. I don't know.
Still stupid.
Stupid, but I think that's probably what they're going for, because part of the problem Amazing Spider-Man 2 ran into, in addition to being a terrible movie, was that the marketing was really bland. The posters were just recycled posters from other Spider-Man movies. There was nothing about it that indicated this is something I haven't seen before in the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah.
They can probably do that easier with a Sinister Six movie,
Yeah.
But for all we know, when it actually comes out, it could be called The Amazing Spider-Man 3 Sinister Six.
Yeah. Or Sinister Six v Spider-Man. Dawn of
shittiness.
Webs, I don't know.
Yeah, Dawn of Webs. Yes. Dawn of Tentacles?
No, that sounds to like something that's totally different. We will not go there on this podcast.
Sounds like we're not going to go there. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
In any case, but then they are still planning on Amazing Spider-Man 3 hypothetically for later, and I guess that's what Spider-Man 4 would have been in this hypothetical. But the other thing, honestly, is that they could just be kind of starting over again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are they, are we really going to go 4 years in the future, and that's the next time we're going to see Spider-Man, and that's when he'll be dealing with the death of Gwen Stacy? Or are they, who knows? Man. I mean, if they want to turn this franchise around, for one, stop the Sinister Six thing. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Then, if you want to, for Amazing Spider-Man 4... or 3, whatever they're doing next. Go 20 years in the future. Have Peter Parker be a retired, bitter old Spider-Man.
Have Andrew Garfield can just play himself at his own age.
Yes, basically.
As opposed to play himself 20 years younger.
Yeah, he's gonna be 35 when the next movie comes out. Which, it's already ridiculous. I mean, you go back to Amazing Spider-Man 1, it's dude, you look like you're 30.
The scenes with him and Emma Stone, in the high school, it's you two are not fucking high school students. Oh my god, you are not high school students.
Because they surrounded them with actual teenagers.
Yeah, exactly,
They clearly got kids as extras, but not for the two main characters.
Yeah.
It's funny. But, in any case, so, if they want to do something radical with the next one, you could take these 4 years and do that. I just don't trust them at all.
No. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. It wasn't because I don't follow the movie news very closely.
Yeah.
But I thought part of this was that the writing team that has been just making their way through Hollywood fucking franchises as they go. Kurtzman and Orci, is that how you say his name?
Orci. Yeah.
Didn't they split up or something?
Yes, they split up. Orci is working on the next Star Trek reportedly. And Kurtzman is doing his own thing. I think he's doing some TV stuff again. And
isn't there something about like a Universal horror movies franchise?
Oh yes,
thing?
Kurtzman is heading up the Universal horror movie stuff. They're trying to create a shared Universal horror movies universe. Just fuck it.
Yeah.
Marvel did it. Let Marvel have done it. Do your own thing.
Yeah, it's like every fucking studio does not need to have its own like multi-film franchise, you know?
I want to see this go overseas, and I want to see Studio Ghibli respond to the loss of Hayao Miyazaki as an artist because he retired. I want them to do like a shared Ghibli universe now. So like we have Princess Mononoke X Totoro.
Yeah, like San and like the wolf like are fighting Totoro and the kids from Tonari no Totoro. Yeah,
yes.
That'd be great.
We can bring in Chihiro for some reason from Spirited Away. It can be great, but it's like that would be like the
and it all leads up to the apocalypse that is in Nausicaa Valley of the Wind.
Yes, it's all shared universe. I'm just trying to think what's the silliest shared universe we can do because Universal horror is up there. It feels like to me
all the shitty Adam Sandler movies that have been made in like the past 7 years. All of those are in the same universe with like different characters of Adam. Like it's not the same Adam Sandler guy. It's different guys who all just look and sound exactly like Adam Sandler in the universe.
I was hoping,
and they all team up together to like have a really shitty like bland comedy with a really like predictable awful love interest plot.
Yes,
and that's the movie.
Okay, I would not put that past Adam Sandler.
That would honestly kind of interest me in a weird way. Like, that would be so extreme and out there, I would maybe almost be compelled to see that, even though I haven't seen any of those Adam Sandler movies at all.
How many Rob Schneider characters would be in this one movie? We would have the Rob Schneider apocalypse.
But yeah, it would be like, it's the natural conclusion of that weird comedy trend that pops up every now and then where you have the lead actor playing, like, 5 different characters in the movie, and it's like, oh, Eddie Murphy's, like, here he is in a fat suit, and here he is as, like, a woman, and here he is as Eddie Murphy, and here he is, like, as a child, and it's like, that shit...
Yeah.
That's the ultimate extreme of it.
Okay.
Get all of those characters all in the same movie at the same time.
Get on this, Adam Sandler and Rob Schneider.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not doing anything better right now. No. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah, that's really fucking sure.
Okay, but yeah, this is just, it's so weird. So anyway, you were talking about Kurtzman and Orky. Yeah, the whole,
yes.
It's interesting because I think they are largely untalented writers, but this is actually kind of an important development for Hollywood because they have torn through so many franchises.
Yeah.
They were in charge of, at various points, Transformers, Star Trek, Spider-Man, and God, what else did they work? They've worked on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would say they've had negative influences on a lot of stuff. I don't know. I'm confused now with all this hindsight how the first Star Trek movie came out as good as it did.
Yeah.
For me, because the second Star Trek Into Darkness is not a bad movie, but it is emblematic of a lot of their problems as writers, I feel like. And we'll see now. But yeah, Orky
don't forget, Star Trek 1 had that red matter shit in it, and that was pretty fucking stupid.
Stupid, but it wasn't like a fucking rape of the characters of the series.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's just my feeling. But anyway, yeah, so Orky has said he's not involved with Spider-Man 3, and I don't know what the status is with Kurtzman, but that's who they had put their eggs in the Kurtzman and Orky basket for Spider-Man. And if they don't have...
You don't want to put your eggs in that basket.
No.
It's a gross basket that's filled with really shitty stereotypical plots and characters that you don't want to be involved with.
Yes, they did write the movie with racist robots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lots and lots of racist robots.
Yep.
And lots of robot testicle jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if there was really only one, but I just remember there being a lot of robot testicle jokes.
I only remember the one,
okay.
But it's a really bad one. The one with Devastator, yeah.
Yeah, it just conflates to a lot for me.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah. So this whole movie is up in the air, and I think that's interesting, and I think it's interesting how... I mean, here's my question, Sean.
Okay.
Would you be at all surprised if we came 4 years later and they just rebooted Spider-Man again? At this
Honestly,
point?
no, and that's really sad.
Yeah.
That's really fucking sad. That's like, we could reboot Spider-Man for like the third time within like... What would that would be like within 15 years?
Yes.
Or like 20 years? Like, that's monstrous.
I mean, I do think I wouldn't be surprised if a recasting and some of that stuff is possible because if for some reason, like, Hollywood doesn't like keeping actors around when directors leave and stuff like that, it feels like in a lot of franchises. So I don't know. I'm curious to see if Mark Webb stays involved or anything. I'm not interested in any of these movies as movies. I think they're going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting for the industry because this was once a big, great franchise, and they just fucked it so hard. And what's most interesting is that clearly Amazing Spider-Man 2 was designed as just one big sales pitch for future movies, and it was so bad, and I think people responded to it so negatively, and commercial reception was so kind of meh that it's like, are they going to follow up on any of those?
Hopefully Amazing Spider-Man 2 will be the thing that in the future now the studios will look at it and be like, if we want to do this franchise thing, we have to be real fucking careful. We have to really know what we're doing, because if it falls apart, it really fucking falls apart. And one bad movie can just destroy all of it.
And I mean, how impressive does that make Marvel look now?
Yeah, right.
For having done, 10 movies now. They've done 10 movies since 2008. None of them have been awful.
Yeah, there's no, stinker in the bunch.
Yeah, and there's nothing that derailed them or came close to derailing them. I mean, a lot of people I know don't like Iron Man 2. It did nothing to derail Marvel.
Yeah, and it's still, it's just... Iron Man 2 is a bad movie compared to Iron Man 1. And in its own right, Iron Man 2 is a fine movie.
Yeah, it's fine. So that's really interesting, and they're even now starting to really branch out with stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
which I would not be surprised. I would be surprised if that movie was not a hit. And if you had asked me a year ago, I would have said I would have been surprised if it were a hit. It's interesting. So yeah, let's talk about Marvel a little bit.
Okay,
Marvel has announced. I love Marvel's scheduling because you would look at any other company and look at the schedules they're putting out for their movie releases and you'd say, yeah, right, come back to us in 3 years when you actually try that. But I think they're actually going to succeed at this because I would have said that last time, and instead now we've got a lot of movies that have come out. So Marvel has set release dates for their movies up to May 3rd, 2019. How old will I be then? 27?
Sure, do some math in your head.
1992 to 2019? 27?
Sure.
Yeah. That's scary. Okay, anyway, so and it's funny because they have all these dates, but we only know what 4 of the movies are. We know we've got Guardians of the Galaxy on August 1st, 2014. We got Avengers 2 on May 2nd, 2015. We've got Ant-Man on July 17th, 2015. Looks like they have pushed that up a little bit, if anything. Yeah, interesting. So, and then May 6th, 2016 is Captain America 3.
Yeah.
That'll be kicking off Phase 3. They're getting a lot of Captain America soon, which I like.
Yeah.
But then they have one more movie in 2016 on July 8th. Then they have 3 in 2017. One in May, one in July, and one in November. They've never done 3 before. Yeah. They're planning on another 3 in 2018 in May, July, and November. So that kind of, we're keeping with that May, July, November thing. And then they have claimed a stake on May 3rd, 2019 as well. And I would assume that means they want to do 3 in 2019 also.
Probably, yeah.
That's a shit ton of movies, Sean.
That's a lot of movies.
So what are all of these? So we've got 3, 6, 7, 8 mystery movies.
Yeah.
Well, let's try to figure this out. We know Avengers 3 is one of those.
Yeah.
I think that's the one in 2018. May 4th, 2018. We know we're going to be getting a Thor 3 and...
Yeah, my guess is for those threes, for 2017 the 3 movies, and for 2018 the 3 movies, probably 2 of them in each of those years are going to be returning franchises, and one of them would be a new one.
That would make sense.
Would be my guess.
Yeah, so I'm thinking 2016, I'm betting that third one is Doctor Strange. I would not be surprised. Because they are really trying to get that one together.
Yeah, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about that.
So we got Doctor Strange. The year after that, that's probably when we're going to get Thor 3. But there's a lot of questions because...
Here's a question, Iron Man 4.
That's the big question, is what I was going to say, is that we know, basically, we've got the Captain America sequels coming out, or Captain America and Thor are going to be continually getting sequels. They're all set for a little while here. But Iron Man, for all we know, is done as a solo series for the foreseeable future because they have Robert Downey Jr. locked down for Avengers 2, which is shooting right now, and Avengers 3. Yeah. But he is not contracted for another standalone Iron Man, and if he is... I wouldn't be surprised if they're waiting on that until after Avengers 3 because it would be hard to get him contracted and in production for all that in time for the next phase. So, it's interesting. Maybe they're going to try and see if they can get through a phase without Iron Man and be good with that. Yeah. And then maybe they just say for a while, we retire the character or something.
Yeah, because I think that would actually be kind of cool if you have this character that sort of leaves the sort of he does not have his own big movie and maybe has a cameo here or there and some of the other ones, and then comes back in the big team up with Avengers, and you get to see the character again for the first time in a while. I think that would be really effective.
Yeah. But in any case, so we're going to have Doctor Strange, we're going to have Thor 3, we're going to have Avengers 3, but that still leaves 5 movies, and I'm interested. Are we gonna? I think they're gonna have to do something Hulk related.
Yeah, there's probably will be another Hulk, first actual Hulk movie with Mark Ruffalo, I guess.
And I think they are probably planning a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing.
Yeah, there will probably be a Guardians 2.
But I'm not sure. There have been some rumors that came out recently that what their plan is that Guardians 2 is going to be a Hulk movie also. After Avengers 2, is that it's going to be a... That's where they're going... Instead of doing Planet Hulk, it'll be Hulk in space, but with these characters.
Sure, that could kind of make sense.
And that's how they would be brought back in for Avengers 3, if they bring those characters in. Sure, they are not in Avengers 2.
Yeah.
They put this movie's coming out in Phase 2, but it's not part of that. So, but yeah, I don't know what other standalone heroes there are, because that gets me to 5, but I don't know what the other 3 would be, unless later on they're planning Captain America 4 and Thor 4 and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I'm interested.
Yeah, it's because they're also, they're invested, like, they're sort of expanding it outside of just the movie stuff with, like, the TV shows and shit, so it's like Daredevil is going to have his TV show. Like,
yeah, we're not getting a Daredevil movie. Are they... Black Widow, is she going to get her own movie?
Maybe, or maybe, like, a Black Widow and Hawkeye movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that might happen, yeah.
I feel like at this point, you'd almost be silly not to try it, just because Scarlett Johansson has become a fairly big box office draw. We'll see how big Lucy opens. And
I wonder if they're going to do a Captain Marvel movie, like modern, like in the past couple of years, Marvel's version of Captain Marvel. This is fine. Captain Marvel's a confusing hero now. So, because Marvel and DC both have their Captain Marvels, except for now DC's Captain Marvel is called Shazam, and Marvel's Captain Marvel is still called Captain Marvel, but Miss Marvel became Captain Marvel and had like a really good, I want to say like 12-issue run. I didn't read it, but I heard it's really good, and I want to catch up with it. And then I think it's transitioned to another character now, but I think it's a female Muslim character. So like Marvel is sort of like using the Captain Marvel character to sort of like really diversify its portfolio and like get a more prominent female hero out there. And I wonder, like, I've heard some rumors that may be what they're trying to do. And if they wanted to have a female superhero movie that was not Black Widow, they want to have like a new character, I would have it be Miss Marvel.
And that would not surprise me. I think that would be a great thing for Marvel Studios. It would be a great thing for the industry, honestly, because if anyone right now can swing for the fences and really try to get a female superhero on the map, Marvel can do it.
Yeah.
And, the reason it hasn't happened so far largely is because no one has fucking tried.
Yeah, like, we have not had, like, a real, like, Wonder Woman movie, and we're...
Yeah.
Like, we know Wonder Woman is going to be in Batman v Superman and Justice League, but...
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
So that I think that would be great, and I think they've talked. There have been rumors constantly that they're going to do Black Panther at some point.
Right? Yeah. I wonder if they would do a Black Panther movie. I could also kind of see that working as like a TV show too, because he's not a huge I could also see Black Panther working as a character that you like kind of like Hawkeye introduce in an Avengers movie, because he's not. I don't know. I'm not that into Black Panther, so maybe I'm kind of downplaying the character, but
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely fascinating to me. I think one of the most honestly provocative things about this potential schedule is that I kind of doubt that Iron Man 4 is what they have sketched in for any of these dates. Because
me too.
There's no guarantee they can get Robert Downey Jr. again.
And even if they do, like, they would have to pay a huge amount of money to Robert Downey Jr.
He'd have to pay a huge amount of money, and honestly, could you blame Robert Downey Jr. if he wanted to say, look, I'm in my 50s, I can't do this anymore.
I don't want to do this, yeah.
He broke his leg on Iron Man 3, and that's... At his age, that's not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's no Harrison Ford on Star Wars 7, apparently fracturing his body or whatever happened to the poor dude.
Yeah.
But
his bones liquefied is what I read.
Yes. So anyway, but yeah.
They actually shot Harrison Ford with, like, a blaster on the Millennium Falcon, and they're like, oh, fuck, we actually invented some amazing new technology, and then killed Harrison Ford with it.
But I do think the most important thing for Marvel to do in this next phase is to diversify. They have their bedrocks. Their bedrocks are in areas I think no one could have expected would be bedrocks. They know Captain America is going to open big. They know Thor. Thor. I think they can be pretty safe with Guardians of the Galaxy at this point. They've got a lot of good bedrocks. It's time to keep experimenting and try to diversify.
I think they're going to expand out and do different stuff. I think like Guardians of the Galaxy is probably the first step for that. Because, even though Captain America and Thor and even Iron Man were, like, not hugely popular characters before these movies came out, they were still relatively known characters. Like, people were especially Captain America, people knew who Captain America was. People were aware of them, and they're very, like, easily marketable characters because they're, like, straight white male action hero characters that you can throw out there, and they're not, like, risky in that sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think now's the time for them to sort of, like, go and do weird fucking shit, like... Guardians of the Galaxy is probably the weirdest fucking thing. Like, we have no capacity to predict what these movies are going to be, because if you had ever asked me if they were going to make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I would have been like, first, is Guardians of the Galaxy the thing with, like, the raccoon guy? And then two, it's like, there's no fucking way anyone ever, in the whole, like, for all of time, anyone is ever going to make a fucking Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And then now I'm super fucking excited for it.
I mean, honestly, it has the potential to be the most well-reviewed Marvel movie. It is getting fantastic reviews.
So I'm saying it here, and I'm saying it now, Squirrel Girl movie 2018. Make it happen, Marvel.
Does Marvel have the rights to Paste Pot Pete?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
Okay.
Squirrel Girl fights Paste Pot Pete after Squirrel Girl defeats Thanos in, like, the first 5 minutes of the movie. You don't really understand how. Because Squirrel Girl's awesome.
Squirrel Girl v. Paste Pot Pete, Dawn of Glue.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on.
The poster is just a, like, bucket with, like, this paste in it and, like, an acorn on top.
Yeah. So, interestingly, this week, Comic-Con is starting, and interestingly, we got our first piece so far of Hobbit 3 promotion.
Yes.
And I just say interestingly because I had kept wondering, when are they going to start marketing this third Hobbit movie? It's actually coming pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Why haven't we gotten anything for it? I actually got the answer to this online recently, and I'm surprised I forgot this. There was a big shift in MPAA rules about movie marketing last year, where studios are no longer allowed to market a film more than 5 months ahead of its release, which I think is a good rule.
Yeah.
That's a great change. Each studio can elect to take 2 movies and opt out of that, but only 2 a year, and I think Warner Brothers probably chose different things than Hobbit, because Hobbit has the built-in promotion of 2 other movies.
Yeah.
But that's why we haven't seen anything for it so far. But they did put out a Comic-Con poster, which I wonder if that goes around the MPAA rules, because this is not an official movie theater poster. So we have our first poster for The Hobbit. That's not the news so much. It is a cool poster. I like the big... That would be cool on my wall. Because you got Smaug going through Lake Town, blowing shit up. Bard is just standing there with his bow, even though they've completely changed that in the movies, and he's not just using a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Because we saw that in Desolation of Smaug. But here's the kicker on this one, is that I looked at the title for this poster, and it says, The Hobbit, The Battle of the 5 Armies, and I was like, oh, this must not be a real poster. This is a fan thing, right?
Yeah.
Because they have the titles wrong. Why is it The Battle of the 5 Armies? And then I looked online, and I Googled that. Turns out the title of the movie is The Battle of the 5 Armies. And my mind was blown because I thought it was just The Battle of 5 Armies like everyone has said since 1936.
Yeah.
But no. Even we reported on this podcast like 2 months ago when they made this title change. We reported it wrong. We kept looking at the documents, like the quotes and stuff.
Yeah.
And we just omitted that extra definite article.
Yeah, because we've been reading The Hobbit since we were like kids.
Yes.
So... it's just the Battle of 5 Armies.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. So yeah.
It's not a bad title, but why is there the extra definite article in there?
I don't know. Because they want you to really understand this isn't just a battle of some 5 armies. It's the battle of the 5 armies. It is fucking definitive. The 5 armies.
It's just,
there are only 5 armies that exist in all the world.
Right.
The 5 armies.
It's weird. I'm kind of neurotic about this kind of thing because part of how I write, honestly, is that when I write, I really go over sentences over and over again with a comb, and words and how words go together for me is like, I just get really neurotic about it. So when I read something that you've got the word "the" twice unnecessarily like that, it's like it's wired wrong. I don't like it. The Battle of the 5 Armies, it doesn't read right.
Yeah, I don't actually have it. And you know how crazy I am about fucking titles.
Yes.
I actually don't really have much of a problem with it.
Okay.
I would prefer the Battle of 5 Armies, but the Battle of the 5 Armies is not actually... I think you're just, obsessing over it because you keep on overemphasizing the... and really kind of doing that for the podcast.
No, but even if... That's the
Battle
thing,
of the
though.
5 Armies.
Yeah, but when I say it like that, it's like there's too many thes. It just
the
doesn't sound right.
The Battle of the 5 Armies.
The Battle of the 5 Armies. I don't like it.
The Battle of the 5 Armies.
Yeah, it's wrong.
It's totally fine.
It's wrong. It's wrong. The Desolation of the Smaug. Why didn't we get that?
Because that's already a proper noun, so you don't need a definite article there.
An unexpected The Journey.
Again, that would be great because it would be like The Journey, no, the game Journey was just called Journey. There is nothing called The Journey, is there?
Yeah.
If only there was something called The Journey, because then it would be an unexpected The Journey. If only the band was called The Journey.
Is that how Japan labels Journey on their albums? Because Japan always throws in extra
Journey.
definite articles.
Persona 4 The Golden.
Yeah. But, I mean, honestly, what surprises me most is just that I've gone, the last 2 months wrong on this.
Yeah, it's the surprising thing is being confronted with your own, psychological mishaps of like, I have just been like glossing over this extra the entire time.
Because I've read this.
My whole life is a fucking lie.
I've read.
How many thes have I missed? Have I been seeing everything wrong? Is it not? I have a poster of King Kong right here. I'm seeing King Kong, but is that actually the King the Kong? I don't fucking know, man. Everything's a lie. It's the Godzilla versus the Mechagodzilla. Not just Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. This is madness.
Yes.
Madness.
The Avengers, the Age of the Ultron. That Avengers title, though, does need a the in there. I don't like that they took out the on the Avengers in the Avengers sequel.
Oh, no, I thought you meant that it's like it needed the Age of Ultron.
No.
And I was going to say, it's like, that's the fucking same exact thing that this is doing.
Avengers Age of Ultron, it should be the Avengers Age of Ultron, because the first movie was the Avengers. So.
I think it should be called The Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes Age of Ultron.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
we need to start double subtitles. That needs to become a thing now.
And in England, it would have to be called Avengers Assemble, because that's what they called the first one, because they couldn't get the rights to just call it Avengers because of that British show.
TV show.
Yeah. In any case, The Hobbit is the Battle of the Five Armies. I'm getting used to it.
Yeah.
It freaked me the fuck out.
And I just have to say this now because it just occurred to me, and this is like something that nobody's going to give a shit about.
Yeah.
But a while ago on Japanese homework, I had to write down the title of the movie The Avengers because I was just like answered a question with it. And I looked up just to see what they're like, how they spelled it in katakana in Japanese. And I looked up the poster, and the poster uses like the Japanese version of the Avengers font, and it has the fucking arrow in the ah. And that blew my fucking mind that they translated that icon into another language that way. It's fucking crazy. Again, nobody's gonna give a shit about it, but it blew my fucking mind when I saw it.
That's awesome. So what he's referring to, if you don't remember, is that Avengers in its English font has that arrow with the A.
Yeah.
And they did it in katakana. Yes, that is cool.
Yeah, so they translated the arrow. Like, I don't even know why the fuck that arrow exists in the Avengers logo. It's been there for, like, the longest time in the comic books. Like, I don't understand it fundamentally, but I thought it was just fucking crazy that they kept that in the fucking logo treatment.
Okay, I'm looking at all these Japanese Avengers posters. They are so much better than the American Avengers posters, I can't even believe it. The American Avengers posters were terrible, I remember that pretty distinctly. Yeah. These are pretty good. Yeah.
Anyways, that's our really incredibly obscure thing for today.
Yes, alright.
This is the logo treatment for the fucking Japanese Avengers.
Sean.
Yes, me.
A little bit of gaming news, because this follows up on stuff we've been talking about.
Yes.
I think it's interesting. The next piece in Microsoft's eternal backtracking on the Xbox One has happened. Tell us about it.
Yes, so for those who remember when the console was unveiled, a big part of the announcement was, this involved like the Halo TV show with Steven Spielberg and all that shit, was the creation of the Xbox Entertainment Studio, which was a specific studio, a division within Microsoft that was dedicated to basically doing what everyone's doing. Sony's doing it, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, fucking everybody is making their own original, basically TV-style program, making it available digitally on their platform, and this is going to be like Xbox-specific stuff. And so they sort of unveiled the creation of that division with the Xbox One, and since then, you know, the Halo TV show stuff has kind of gone into pre-production. Like, that Nightfall thing has like a trailer at Comic-Con and shit. And then also, I think that studio also made or is making, I don't know if it came out, that documentary where they dug up E.T. I think they were involved in that. But they have now announced that entertainment division, which again is like a year old at most, is now being shut down. And like, along with a huge sort of restructuring of some Microsoft stuff that they're firing, like, I think it's like 13,000 people. Like, it's a huge number of people. Some of it is like Microsoft bought Nokia, so that's a big part of it, is like redundancies there. But they're also completely shutting down the studio, so like 13,000 people are losing their jobs that were working for Microsoft, and that whole initiative, very short-lived.
What does the Xbox One have left from its reveal?
An HDMI in.
Okay. And you said this to me before the podcast. Would you be surprised if they took out the HDMI in on the next
in fact, I would be amazed if the HDMI in thing was still there on like the second Xbox design, on the redesign for the Xbox.
The Xbox One 2.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's...
Here's the thing, this honestly is the most surprising part of the backtracking to me, because... Okay, you take out the DRM stuff because obviously you have to.
Yeah, that was just crazy.
That was just crazy. You take out the Kinect because you are really lagging behind in sales.
Yeah, and you need to get that thing out there cheaper.
Yes, and it worked. They doubled their sales in June. Yeah. We'll see how that does for them long run. They're still lagging behind the PS4 pretty substantially. Yeah. But we'll see. That's a positive step in terms of business and sales directions.
Yeah.
But to start really backtracking on your entire media hub initiative, that fascinates me because that does make sense to me as part of their platform.
Yeah.
I think they needed to balance it more at the beginning of this is a games platform, but it's also a great multimedia center. That's what, the PS4 has always been pitched as. Yeah. They've pitched as games first, but they've always taken the time to remind you that it is a media center and a media hub. And that's what it's in the name, Xbox One. They said that not for a game reason, but because it's a multimedia hub.
Even though that is the same reasoning that they use for naming the Xbox 360 the 360, because it's a circle. So it pisses me off that they're trying to just use the same dumb conceit when they're naming their consoles, but whatever.
It's silly, but in any case,
all in one media center,
right? So this is what's fascinating to me is that would have been something to really prop up your entertainment side of this Xbox One, make it a real entertainment platform, is to have your own original content. As you said, everyone is doing it. Even people who I suspect do not have the money to do it, like Yahoo. They're making a new season of Community. I don't know where Yahoo gets money anymore because no one goes to Yahoo.
Yeah.
Soon they will have a small number of Community fans going to Yahoo. Well, I should say, every Community fan will go to Yahoo. That is a small number of people.
Yeah.
But yes. So, again, everyone's doing it. It sounded like they were at least going after some interesting game-adjacent or game-related projects for this.
Yeah, like documentaries and stuff like with the Atari thing.
So it's not like I'm disappointed about it or anything. I'm not an Xbox gamer anymore, but it fascinates me because this to me in some ways, at least ideologically, is one of the biggest backtracks they've done.
Yeah, like it feels like again, they do still have that HDMI in thing. As far as I don't know a lot of people who use the Xbox One, but I don't really know anybody who uses the TV stuff. Like, even when I listen to or read other game journalists, it seems like they don't ever really address the fact that they can still play TV. And the only time I hear about it is when they're like, I've stopped using it for that because it's too frustrating.
Yeah, and
everyone else in the house hates it.
Yeah, and what Sean's referring to, if you don't remember, because this is a fairly obscure function at this point.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The HDMI in is that obviously when you plug your console into your TV, you're using your HDMI out port, sending a video signal to the TV. HDMI in is that you can plug in your cable box or other devices into your Xbox One, and it'll play everything is the idea. Yeah. But apparently it's never worked well. Like, the big thing they pitched was you can put your cable or satellite into your Xbox One, which we made fun of because I don't think the average Xbox gamer has a cable or satellite subscription.
Yeah, I don't.
No.
I haven't for years.
My family has one at our house, but I use it, if anything, mostly for professional stuff, like when I need to watch Mad Men and write about it. I have to do it the night of, so I use that. Yeah. But it's other than I would happily get rid of it because you can do it online, and that's what the PS4 and Xbox One ideally are for, is to get away from that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just the whole HDMI in thing was this initiative that just didn't really make sense. I think it confused a lot of people. Yeah. It was part of why their message was so confused at the time.
It was the funniest thing about them saying it's an all-in-one media hub, and the only thing you need is the Xbox One, other than you also needed a cable box with a cable subscription and all this shit. And you need a TV too.
And if you don't have
about the TV.
Yeah. And cable and satellite subscriptions are more than just a box. They're wires all over your house. And all
it's
shit.
Not. If you're still clinging on to TV, it's not an all-in-one media anything as far as I'm concerned. But yeah,
even if you use TV casually, there's nothing wrong with that. There are things it is harder to get on the internet at this point. Yeah. And it's just But yeah, the whole Xbox One, that initiative was weird. But to me, the Xbox Media initiative of making shows was not weird. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
for me, that's kind of. It's why I know everyone made fun of, and I understand why when Sony had the powers thing and stuff, because they pushed it way too hard. But I'm excited. I want that stuff because I eventually the TV shit's just going to go away. It's not. It's an obsolete model of entertainment, and so this is, even if people are making mistakes and stuff. This is the first step to the new sort of form of TV is shit like House of Cards and Orange is the New Black on Netflix or Powers for Sony. These are the first steps to trying to find a new way to deliver that kind of content to a modern audience. And so it's I think it's really important that a lot of different people are trying it, because then that's going to create competition, and you hopefully won't have something like the Steam situation on PC gaming where only one platform is making use of that service of selling games digitally, and so they have like a monopoly on it. You want a lot of different services, a lot of different effectively networks making their own content and competing with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, it's such a complex situation right now because the biggest problem with it, and the biggest problem about talking about these seismic shifts going on in the industry, is that some of the shows you just named, and a lot of the ones we would point to right now as examples of streaming shows like House of Cards and stuff. Yeah. Most of them are awful. House of Cards is not a good show. It's got a good sheen on it. I find it fun in a so bad it's good kind of way. I watch it as a total guilty pleasure. Mm-hmm. But, other than Orange is the New Black, there really aren't any significant cultural milestones out there in the streaming verse. But that is what TV is going to be eventually. It's the art form is not dying. The art form is stronger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's just the delivery method of, you go to your cable box at night at 7 p.m. on channel 102 and you turn that's dead. And it's dying fast and everything. And it's I think sometimes it's hard to recognize that when the stuff that's replacing it is kind of terrible right now.
Yeah, but it's going to be. It's going to be because,
here's when I think it's going to really, the shift is going to happen is when HBO uncouples from cable and satellite and starts offering HBO Go as a standalone subscription service.
Yeah.
The future will have arrived when that happens.
Sure, yeah.
Because HBO has said, that's the future. They financially it won't work yet. Mm-hmm. But it will eventually. So, yeah. But that's the thing, though, is that why this is an important conversation is that, getting back to the Xbox thing, if Xbox and Microsoft have that, they are insuring themselves for the future.
Yeah, right? And it's a nice thing to have of hey. And this is something I should mention, really quickly, is that the Halo TV show with Steven Spielberg as executive producer is still, planned to happen. That has not necessarily been shut down. But the studio, I don't know, what happens with that, but the studio's gone.
Well, Halo is its own thing.
Yeah,
it's such a big deal, and but yeah, I mean, it would be something worth happening. I mean, Sony obviously is going to go after this more because Sony is an entertainment company themselves. Yeah. Sony Television makes a lot of the shows we all enjoy. I think Orange is the New Black is a Sony TV show. Mm. It's just it's on Netflix. But that's the thing. Eventually, shows like that, if Sony can get a big enough base on PS4 and PSN, they'll just do it through those services.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot easier.
And that's also how you then attract a wider audience to buying your gaming platform, is by having these other things that it's if there's this big cultural touchstone the next Game of Thrones or something that they're really extreme, the next Game of Thrones is something that you could only get on PS4, that would be fucking huge. That would be something that would attract people who have no interest in video games. They would realize this is not just something you can buy that for my son to play video games. It's also that it's I can then watch all these shows I've been hearing about on it.
Yeah. But, okay, every Xbox One conversation always has to go back to the, weekly or bi-weekly check-in of what is the Xbox One at this date.
Yeah.
Does it have anything left that distinguishes it from the PS4?
I mean, just its exclusive franchises, which is
yeah, Halo and got Sunset Overdrive coming out.
Yeah.
Crackdown. But other than that, it's a less powerful gaming platform that now does less stuff, even on the multimedia side in some ways.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. That console's... It's crazy. That console has changed so much. That would be really fascinating to go back and rewatch the Xbox One's reveal and just be half of this shit is not even true about the console anymore.
More than half, because the reveal was all about the stuff that got backtracked on. It was all about the live TV. It was all about the media creation. It was all about the the DRM stuff. That wasn't in the presentation, but it was what that week was about.
Yeah.
It would be crazy to go back and listen to our podcasts on that.
Yeah.
It's our coverage. Crazy. All right. Sean, let's talk about a really good video game.
Okay. XCOM Enemy Unknown. This is a very good video game.
We're going to talk about Super Mario Brothers 2.
That's
where Birdo comes from.
Yeah, like American Super Mario Brothers 2?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's a very good game, yeah.
Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2
pick up turnips and throw it at fucking Shy Guys.
Now let's talk Destiny.
I think it is our destiny to talk about Destiny.
So, Sean, the Destiny beta, which has been long promised,
yes,
because it's a Bungie game, and of course it would have this.
Yes,
it came here last week. It was exclusive to PlayStation for a couple days. Now it's open to literally everyone because
unless you only own a PC or Wii U.
I mean, everyone who owns a console because yes,
or if you own a Wii U or Wii, if you own a Wii U, like one Jonathan Lack.
Yeah, I'm laughing at myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can't play games on that thing. Yes, so real games. So Destiny, it is. You can play it PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One. Even if you haven't pre-ordered the game, it's open to everyone.
Yeah.
So Sean, we've had a lot of time with Destiny at this point.
Oh god, yeah.
From the alpha to now the beta.
I've played over 20 hours combining the alpha and the beta.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Of like basically the same slice of content.
Yeah. So let's go over what's in the beta. The alpha had. Basically, one story mission. You could explore that area. It's the Cosmodrome. It had one strike, and it had 2 multiplayer maps with 1 multiplayer game mode, and you go to the tower.
Yeah, and you started level 3, and the cap was at level 8.
Yeah, Destiny Beta has all of that, but you start at what seems to be the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some more stuff.
Yeah, there might be a little bit more of context at the beginning, but this might also just straight up be the beginning of the game. That would be fine.
So you start at level 1, level cap's to level 8, but you have 5 story missions.
Yeah.
You still have the same strike. You
have the same map, but although some areas of old Russia are opened up where some of the story missions take place, so it's a little bit bigger.
So you can do everything you can do in the alpha, plus all that, plus...
the multiplayer is the same. They did some Iron Banner thing, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, it's got a new map, though, but it's the same game mode. And, it's... But... So it's the same kind of thing, but... it's the same content with some more content on the side.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing with a couple of new story missions.
Right. So here's what I was going to ask you is, how did your experience or approach to Destiny change at all, going from the alpha to the beta? Was it eye-opening in any way?
I wouldn't say, like, eye-opening, just, like, because it was more like, one, it was just really fucking, like, having that alpha end and then not being able to play it for a couple of weeks and then, like, going back into the beta is just, like, God, Destiny controls so well. Like, it just plays so perfectly that, like, that's part of one of the reasons why I can just put 20 hours into it. It's just fun to play. Like, it's just, like, tactilely, it's really satisfying to engage with the combat. And so that was just a really good feeling to sort of, like, get back in there, and it was fun starting a new character, but, like, having all my knowledge of playing so much of the alpha and being able to, like, fucking rinse fools, you know, because I played so much. And it, like... You know, it was just nice being able to go into the game with all this sort of foreknowledge of, I know the Hunter's my favorite class, so I just doubled down on Hunter and played the fuck out of Hunter and made my Hunter really, really fucking powerful. But yeah, but I should say, you know, it was also kind of disappointing to see that there was not more content in the beta that was not in the alpha, but then also on the other hand, that's also kind of nice because that means I'm not sort of like spoiling myself on more of what's going to be in the full game.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed with how much was in here at all because I feel like the stuff that they added on here, those other 4 story missions are great. The 5th story mission in particular.
Yeah, this is the best story mission, I think.
I mean, it's almost analogous to landing on the beach in Halo Combat Evolved. I mean, in terms of just where it all comes together.
It's a very Halo feeling mission, especially when you get to like the last, to like the darkness zone where like the mission really starts.
It's just one of those magical Bungie moments where you just kind of see the genius of all of it, and you just kind of, it's like, I'd already obviously had the moment of I love this game, but even more so it's like, the chemistry of it all starts coming together and popping, and it's so great.
And it was nice to be able to play the game from what is effectively the beginning, and like have, because that was sort of a strange thing about the alpha, is that it does just sort of like drop you into that mission, and you're just level 3, and just kind of like go, and this, you level up and you get your grenade ability, and you like sort of go through the early levels and get introduced to the concepts, and it explains some of the stuff, like explains what the darkness zone is, where I kind of knew what that meant in the single player missions, where that's like, once you go through the darkness zone, it sort of sections you off from the other random players that you might encounter, and like if you die, it's sort of Halo style and you respawn, but like the alpha did not really explain that, so you just sort of walked in and was like, this is a darkness zone. It's like, okay, like what the fuck is that?
Right.
You sort of like, it eases you into some of the concepts of Destiny, because there's a lot of shit going on in Destiny.
There is. And here's the thing, what's interesting to me is that, back before the alpha came out, about a month or two, a bunch of the gaming news websites had their previews of alpha, or of Destiny.
Yeah.
Remember those? And I think they were just playing the alpha content, basically. I know they were playing a story mission similar to that, and a little bit of the multiplayer. And there was a lot of people were kind of meh on it, because I felt like they were saying, it doesn't feel like it's delivering its promise of kind of having all the, upgradability and stuff, and it feels kind of just, linear and like a first-person shooter. And I can understand that if you just played that small slice of content.
Yeah, if you only played like a mission, you wouldn't understand what it is.
Right. But when you... With our experience with the alpha, which was in all truth fairly limited, it's a small slice of content. The beta is slightly larger, and you get the context from the beginning on.
Yeah,
I feel like between all of that, I'm really getting what Destiny is, and it's not so much in the moment as much as I'm imagining what it can be. So it's like I think when you start with the alpha and you play the 3 classes in the alpha, I never got much of a sense of what differentiated them, other than Hunter was awesome because throwing knife.
Throwing knife is so fucking great.
Yes, but then you play the alpha and you start, or the beta, and you start from the beginning, and you can pick any of the classes, and you go from 1 to 8, and in that 1 to 8 you get literally every ability you have is part of an upgrade.
Yeah.
So all of the double jump and the the melee
super
stuff, and your super, all that stuff you kind of just had in the alpha is upgradability, and then the stuff you upgrade in the alpha is on top of that. And I think I'm really seeing the future, and kind of extrapolating from that is going to be, we're just seeing the beginning seeds of how these are different. But imagine at level 20 all the stuff you'll have upgraded and this custom ability you'll have.
And I think what's something that's really significant, because it seems, I don't think Bungie has straight up confirmed it, but everything indicates that the level, the actual level cap is 20, because it's like you have legendary weapons available for purchase at the tower that have level 20 as the cap. And so it's like, that seems like that would not be there unless that was the level cap. But it made me realize playing the beta, especially, like I said, I decided this time... I did end up making a Warlock last night just because I was like, I just kind of want to make another character and see how he looks in the world. This is a test of how I want my Hunter to look, because you can't change your appearance. So I was like, I want to make my guy look cool instead of making him look stupid. Because my Hunter in the alpha had a really dumb haircut that I did not realize was a dumb haircut until I saw it from behind.
Right.
Because you can't rotate the character in the character creation screen, which is maybe a flaw. But anyways... But I almost have spent all my time with the beta just playing my Hunter and leveling him up. And even though you can hit level 8, there's still so much you can do to improve your character, because all the level does is that there's it changes what gear you can use increases when your level increases, and then there's some stuff like that subclass system that's kind of hinted at in the beta that's unlocked at level 15, at least the one that they can show you, which there might be another subclass. So, but that's it. The abilities are tied to experience and leveling up your weapons, because your weapons also have skill trees if they're special weapons. That's also tied to experience. So, playing the game, the level's not actually that important. It's just the experience levels up those trees. So even if you get to level 8, you still unlock more abilities, vertically down that skill tree.
I did not know this.
Actually, you can also unlock the next one horizontally as well. So it's you can I think you kind of hit a cap at some point that I feel like my guy is not getting any stronger, is not unlocking new stuff now, but you can still level up well past level 8, and make your guy way better. My Hunter now is completely different, uses a different grenade, my golden gun has a different ability. I play him almost completely different than my Hunter when I just hit level 8 and got that upgrade. So, the leveling system is really different in Destiny, and you don't get that until you play a lot of it.
Yeah, and you really couldn't do that in the alpha as much.
Yeah.
In the beta, you just get, again, the flavor of it all just is so much stronger now. You get the feel for it so much more. But, everything we said last time is still true. I think the game controls as well or better than any game I've ever played. I think
it's an impeccable first-person shooter.
God.
It's something that's but it's really clear. It's something that Bungie and the Call of Duty games, it sets them so far apart. Even though I really love Wolfenstein, and I think Wolfenstein has really good shooting, it's still a notch below what Destiny does. And for people, I don't like this comparison, but I understand why people are making it, and I feel like every online discussion I've read about Destiny is comparing Destiny with Borderlands, and honestly, the biggest thing that sets them apart, even beyond the fact that they're actually totally different games, and one is a Diablo first-person shooter, and one is a World of Warcraft first-person shooter, is that Borderlands has mediocre shooting controls that are sort of lifted up by the huge variety of weapons you get and the weird tone of the game, and Destiny is the shooting is absolutely first-rate. That combat is top-notch first-person shooter design.
I mean... I don't know if I want to say this yet, because, again, we've only played the alpha and the beta, but even with all my years of experience with Halo, which have always been my favorite first-person shooter experiences, this is the most satisfying control in a first-person shooter I've ever had. it's just something about it.
It's I would not try to argue whether it's better than Halo or not in that regard.
I said satisfying. It's
at the level of Halo in terms of just perfect control.
But here's the things where it goes above and beyond for me, and it's about the universe as much as anything else. But just like the way RPG stuff and MMO stuff is grafted into the very soul and skeleton of this game is so satisfying, because I love first-person shooters and I love RPGs and I love how they come together in Destiny. Yeah. So, for instance, I'm playing a first-person shooter, but I'm leveling and improving. That is so revelatory and cool to me. But also at the same time, the way they integrate levels and health and stuff into the enemies. I'm still wowed by just how efficient a system they have, where when you point at an enemy, you see their level, you see their health, and when you shoot them, the numbers come out. It's yellow if it's a headshot or a critical shot.
Some of that's a lot of that stuff is also in Borderlands. I should say.
And I've never played Borderlands, but it's so elegant and simple. I would think that kind of thing would just clutter the screen and make it ugly. Mm-hmm. In Halo, it makes the shooting all the more dynamic and interesting and has so many more layers to it because there's other things going on.
Yeah, I really love all that. The UI in Destiny is across the board. I feel really clean, really well designed. It's something that's it took me a while to get used to, but I've sort of come around to really understanding why they did it. I like that in all the menus you have the cursor.
Right.
It's a weird thing because you looking at the menu, you're like, well, you could totally control this with
the D-pad.
Yeah, just by cycling through stuff like you would normally. But there's a very smooth level of natural level of control using that cursor that just feels a lot more natural than just popping. There's something really restrictive about a just gridded menu where you're just popping between those squares, and then now you're sort of flowing between them and able to very smoothly compare stats. That's one of the best things about the UI is that when you get a new weapon, it is so easy to just compare. It's what is this? How is it different from what I'm using, and do I want to use it? That is so simple and easy to read, which is something that most games just never understand how to be able to build that system because it's very hard to do.
Absolutely. It's kind of for a while I was just wondering, is this just a temporary thing? That's what I wondered in the alpha. Is this just a temporary thing there for when they were designing it on PCs maybe or something?
Yeah,
not for PCs, but just
it's funny because Destiny is not coming out on PC.
Right. It looks almost like a mouse kind of thing. And then I was wondering, is it because they're going to put it on the touchpad on the PS4 and you're going to control it like that? But now I'm at the same point with you. It's just it's actually just kind of a clever, good design for this. Yeah. It makes it easy to use. It gives you a lot of control over all that. But yeah, I think the big polishes in the beta for me are the graphics are a step up. Not that they were lacking.
Yeah,
or anything,
it's a lot of little effects and stuff are really sharpened up in the beta.
And honestly, I am ready to say this. I think Destiny is the most gorgeous console game I've ever played.
There are definitely some moments, especially I think the best sort of graphical effect in the game that's really breathtaking, every time I see it, is it's really evident on the tower, is there puddles of water in the right light, the reflection is so perfect. I have never seen a reflection in water in a game look that good before. That's every time I see it, I'm like, holy fucking shit. That's just looks like a reflection in water.
I'm constantly getting distracted by the visuals. I'll just drive around in the Cosmodrome and take pictures of stuff with the share button. And in multiplayer matches, I kept getting distracted and taking pictures of the skyboxes because they're so beautiful. And I think what it is for me with Destiny is that Bungie's art direction has always been at the absolute top of the heap. Yeah. It's just so good, and Destiny looks every inch as beautiful as the best Halo games in terms of design and everything. But this is where the next gen power comes in. They can really make that art pop even more than it would on previous gen consoles. I'm sure the game looks beautiful on PS3 and 360. You'll get a great visual experience because Halo 3 and Halo Reach are great experiences on those consoles. But it's not on PS3, on 360. But I think just here, when you have that extra fidelity and those long draw distances and the lighting effects and everything, it's not necessarily the same level of graphical fidelity as an Infamous Second Son, but the art direction is head and tails above it. And Infamous Second Son is a beautiful game, but it's not Destiny.
Yeah, with Destiny, it's something that's also it's sort of very clear that, I guess it's something that's very interesting that a lot of times you get so frustrated with video games that a lot of times art style and art direction people don't pay attention to it enough, and it's you just get the most bland looking games, a lot of Call of Duty games.
Every Call of Duty game.
I would say Modern Warfare has a really good knew what it was going with its aesthetic, and then I think a lot of the other games sort of lost a part of that sort of grittiness of it, I guess.
I just feel it's Modern Warfare is a hard game for me to judge at all anymore because I think it did a lot of good things that Call of Duty then ran into the ground, and I don't even remember what I thought about them initially. I agree, Modern Warfare looked good at the time, but they've just aped its kind of look in a less interesting way. So now I look at it.
I don't think Modern Warfare 1's aesthetic has aged especially well, but when it came out, I thought it was a really striking game because no other game really looked like Call of Duty 4 or had that style to it. But with Destiny, it has a quote unquote realistic aesthetic. Obviously it's like sci-fi craziness, but humans have human proportions. Things look like things. Rocks are just rocks. It's not like Borderlands crazy cel-shaded or anything like that. It doesn't have a crazy style to it, but it has style to it. It has a specific artistic voice, and it's created in a very specific way. With how a movie will have a very specific look, even though you're recording real life, you can bring an artistic aesthetic to it that takes it completely different from everything else. Lawrence of Arabia is fucking spectacular in just its aesthetic sense and style, and Destiny has that in a video game. I feel like a lot of video game art directors just I don't know what it is. I feel like a lot of times they don't pursue that enough. They don't pursue, even though it's realistic, you can have a billion different styles of realistic, and I don't know why people always pick just the gray one.
I talked about this with How to Train Your Dragon 2 and how a lot of CGI movies just kind of go for a bland... It's like the Borderlands thing. It's just bland cartooniness. And that movie decided we're going to make things look really... We're going to go down to earth with realistic cinematography, and as a result, it looks more beautiful than any other animated CGI movie you can find.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's where Destiny really starts kicking ass on this beta polish, is the motherfucking sound design.
Yeah, the sound design got a well needed pass, because that was one of I thought the weaker elements of the alpha was a lot of the weapons didn't have a lot of meat to them.
It sounded good, it just wasn't.
Yeah. And in the beta they really, especially the fucking scout rifle.
Oh my god,
has a
real
kick to it.
I love going back and forth on the scout rifle, going to the sights and out, because when you raise it up, it makes that satisfying just movement of when you move something like a gun, the parts just kind of ruffle.
Yeah,
and it does that.
It's
just there's just these tiny subtle sounds that are coming from in my system all over the place.
Yeah,
and it's so well done. And the music is absolutely gorgeous, and sometimes totally just invigorating, and makes you want to never stop playing.
Yeah,
and all this stuff. But as you say, it's got the weapons have real kick to them when they're using them too. And it's the sound design all around is just fantastic. Yeah. And the one sound design thing we noted last time on the alpha was the ride you have, the
Sparrow.
The Sparrow. Sounds just as good now, even better maybe. Yeah. And
it felt like in the alpha that they had spent all their effort on sound design, just making the Sparrow sound like the coolest fucking thing in the world, and they're like, we'll work on the guns later.
And they did, and they all sound great now.
Yeah.
The Sparrow still is the coolest thing in the world. And you know what else they've done with the Sparrow, though? Is that they've refined the rumble feature on it.
Oh, right, yeah.
And, oh my god, I just love riding the Sparrow because the rumble, it's like being in a good car when it's just humming when you're on the road. It feels so satisfying.
There are a lot of really subtle touches that Destiny uses the rumble for that are really effective.
Yeah, it's really cool. It still controls great on the DualShock 4. That's what we're playing on. It feels really, really good on that. But what else? I mean, in terms of new stuff. Sound design. We have to talk about this. Everyone shit on Peter Dinklage because they heard what was obviously an unfinished vocal master for him in the alpha.
It was completely unprocessed. It sounded like it was dumped into the game.
But for some reason, every fucking writer in the video game world...
Every fucking video game website had 5 fucking stories talking about Peter Dinklage's voice acting, which is...
Because obviously, at the time, that was the final vocal performance. And obviously, even though he's a robot, that's exactly what he's going to sound like. And obviously, Bungie is so stupid, they're just going to let that pass. Yeah. I did not understand those stories. I feel like... And you know what? No one has run a retraction on that, and that kind of pisses me off. Because the beta... You hear 5 seconds of him talking, of course that's why he sounded that way in the alpha, because when you put the processing on, it sounds perfect. It sounds great. In fact, I think it's a fairly endearing character voice, because it doesn't sound quite
I've kind of really grown to like the Ghost, because there's also something about, a lot of, the most awkward sound design. This is something that's, if you watch a really bad dub of anything, it's really obvious. There's just, so much work has to be put into making the sound like it's coming from where it's coming from. You have to place that voice in the world, And so that's why, like, a lot of times if you watch a really bad dub of something, it's like the reason why you can't get invested in it is just like it does not sound like that voice is coming from this character, like in this play, like it's like all these characters are standing in this cave and there's no echo on their voice or something like that.
Bane in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I love Bane's voice. It's coming from 5 miles away. I mean,
it's exactly that effect where it's like there's no way this voice is coming from this thing, and Peter Dinklage's ghost voice in the alpha did not feel like it was placed in the world at all. It did not sound like it was coming from that character. It sounded like Peter Dinklage was just speaking into a microphone next to me. It's just what it sounded like, and that was it. And then now, like, if you just watch or play the first cutscene in the beta, like, they do so many tricks with how his voice, the sound of the voice moves around with the speakers, the little like weird chips and stuff. Like, they actually make a lot of little tiny sound design choices with. It's not just a robot filter. Like, he makes weird chirps and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And then also when he sort of like, I don't know, like fuses with you, when he becomes like part of your inventory, I guess. Like the way that sound design shifts of where he's not now like in the world, he's now in your ear, sounds totally different, and they make that shift constantly. Like, that's what you need on your sound design. That is, like, the most... Like, that is so much more important than just even the performance. Like, it is way more important to have the voice sound like it exists in the world than for the performance to be good. Because if the performance is good and it sounds like the dude is just sitting next to you on the couch, you're never going to believe it. It doesn't matter how good the performance is.
Well, and also I think what a lot of people weren't considering, and what I see now, is that the performance is the way it was and was awkward in the way it was because it had to be there for these filters to work.
Yeah.
They're not just taking raw line readings and working with them. They obviously wanted him to say those in a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's part of the character is that he doesn't talk like a human because, hey, he's not. It's a ghost.
He's a crazy ghost.
Whatever the fuck a ghost is. I don't know what it is.
It's a thing that the Traveler makes to carry its light to dead guardians to resurrect them.
I still don't understand what that... Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
Okay.
I don't know why this is hard. The speaker fucking told you all about it in the second cutscene.
Right. But in any case, yeah. So obviously, that was part of it. And again, when you go through that story mission from the alpha and now it's all processed and stuff, you get immediately why those lines sounded like that unprocessed, because when you put all the processing on it, the overall effect is greater than the sum of its parts, I think.
Yeah.
They did cut The Wizard Came from the Moon, though, and fuck them.
Yeah. Although... we should, maybe hold back the fuck them. Like, we don't know. That line may come somewhere else in the game. That line may never have been intended to be there in the first place. We don't know.
Peter Dinklage could have just been improvising, and they're like, we'll put this in the alpha because it's funny.
That wizard came from the moon.
All right. But yeah, Destiny is so much fun. It's so great to just be in the world of it. Here's something we haven't talked about yet. The PvP multiplayer. Yeah. I was not so hot on it when the alpha came around. I didn't play much of it because it just didn't interest me. But now that you urged me to play more of it, basically.
Yeah, because I feel like that's true of like almost every multiplayer game. Is that like you need to give it a couple of rounds before you really understand what's going on, because multiplayer games just don't have tutorial for multiplayer.
Right. And, I did that in the alpha, but I came back for the beta, definitely played a lot more of it, and I think they did make a lot of subtle improvements, but overall it's just, again, spending more time in it, too. I'm really enjoying it now. I think it's fun. Honestly, it's an extension of what Destiny does well, but in the multiplayer arena, it's still the least interesting part of the game to me overall, because it's the most... But it's the thing we've seen the most of recently in terms of this kind of game design. But, the maps are so good. I feel like, especially the one they introduced for the beta, the Venus one.
Yeah, the Venus map is really fucking... It's something where they... every class has a different sort of, like, movement power. Like, basically, with, like, Hunter, it's double jump. It's, like, glide with the Warlock, and there's, like, lift. It's just kind of, like, glide with the Titan. And there's a lot of, like, really subtle things in the map design, and some not really subtle things, but like different pathways and stuff you can take utilizing those different movement abilities that makes it play a lot different than most first-person shooters, which is fun.
Yeah, and I feel like I need to spend a lot more time with it before I can say anything more substantial than that, but it is fun. It's still the part I'm spending the least amount of time on, just because I just can't play the same map over and over again.
Yeah, for me, it's like it's a nice change of pace. That is something like if I'm playing it and I've like just did a strike, it's fun to be like, well, I'm going to like play the multiplayer for like to do something different,
right?
And I like, but one thing that I really like is it's everything about Destiny that makes it really unique and really like significant for me is not like. It's the fact that it plays really well is fantastic and all that stuff, and the music is great. That's fantastic. But the best thing about Destiny and what really sets it apart, what makes it really innovative, in my opinion, is the larger context of it. Is those like larger social MMO elements that they have integrated with the FPS design, and the fact that you have this competitive multiplayer that is not competitive multiplayer. It is PvP. that's so huge, of that you bring your character in, that your character gains experience when you play the multiplayer, that you get like gear rewards for playing the multiplayer, that you get like you can complete those challenges and get a huge amount of gear or a huge amount of experience, and then also get these crucible marks. Then the final game will allow you to get like other like PvP specific gear and stuff. The fact that you playing the PvP builds up your character, that you also use to do the strikes and the story missions and exploring and all that stuff. It makes it this one seamless experience that just ties everything together. That then makes it feel that it's like, if I want to take a break and play some multiplayer, I'm not backing out of the game. You know, I'm not like on Halo. I would have to like save and quit, go to the main menu, enter into multiplayer, and play as like this totally other character in the multiplayer, and it's just a completely different thing. In this, it's just a totally seamless experience that I'm just flowing from one to the other, and there's no break in the immersion, and it all just takes place contextually within the universe. And it's a really powerful, involving thing, is what makes Destiny a really sort of significant game to me, is that it combines the solid first-person shooter design that Bungie has always had, and combines it with the really sort of addicting, involving, immersive social design aspects of an MMO, and that's like a really innovative marriage to me.
Absolutely.
It sort of defeats the weaknesses of both of the genres.
Absolutely. It is, on a much bigger scale, this is the Modern Warfare comparison that matters. It's like when you play Modern Warfare's multiplayer for the first time, and it's an RPG system in a PvP
with
multiplayer.
Progressive unlocks and stuff.
I feel like this is on a much bigger scale, but it's like that kind of melding that you never knew you needed it, but once you play it, it's like, this is what I want now. I couldn't have said any of that better myself. That's what I think about Destiny 2. It takes from so many things I love, and yet the whole it's unlike anything I've ever played overall, because it scratches kind of so many itches at once in a certain way. It's very good, and we've still only seen, I feel like, the tip of the iceberg.
Because again, the beta basically has the same content as the alpha, just with like a few more story missions in it.
Yeah.
So,
boy, am I excited for September 9th.
Yeah, and there's still so many mysteries to Destiny. It's just like that fucking like subclass system. You still don't really know like how that's going to work, because you never got to that point. They just tease it with you, because it's like with all the classes, they have that one subclass. They just like, every time you go to look at your level up thing, it's sitting there. It's like, says requires level 15. I'm like, I want to try that out.
Will we fight a wizard on the moon?
Yes.
That's the big question.
Because that's the other fucking thing that pisses me off about the beta, is that they have the fucking, you unlock the moon, and there's like you can like look at the moon map, and there's a mission there, but if you pick it, it says, hey guys, the game comes out in September. It's like, I fucking know, because I pre-ordered it. I want to play one mission on the moon. You don't even have to let me like explore the moon area. Just drop me into the fucking darkness zone and let me play the mission. I just want to see what the moon is like in a non-multiplayer context.
It's just such a tease.
Yeah,
but
motherfuckers.
It's a good tease.
I just want to know how many wizards are on the moon. If that wizard came from the moon, that like line I feel like implies that there are like that's where the wizards come from. They are from the fucking moon.
Does Gandalf live on the moon?
Probably. Yes.
Okay.
That's where he came from originally, was on the moon.
I want to meet...
all that stuff's in the Silmarillion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
I have not read the Silmarillion,
He is a demigod, he is a Maiar, but he's not from the moon.
Okay, yeah.
As far as I know.
All right. This has been the Weekly Stuff Podcast.
Yes.
This has been Destiny. There will be more Destiny in September.
Yes, there will be a lot more Destiny in September.
At least we have some Doctor Who to hold us over until then.
Yeah, and yeah.
Okay. So we shall see you guys in the future.
Yeah, at some undetermined point in the future.
At time indeterminate.
Yeah.
There will
hopefully before Doctor Who comes back on, so we can actually talk about Twin Dilemma, because that would be the saddest fucking thing in the world, is if you watched Twin Dilemma and we never got around to recording that podcast.
I'd slip my wrists.
Yeah. So would I.